So I want to address a couple of things. We did talk about this in the policy committee, and we've gone into these policies pretty clearly, pretty thoroughly. I want to just take a quick sidestep to the comment that Ms. Acree had mentioned about the pizza thing. I've heard about this earlier this evening, and I want to be very clear about this. It is not something that is originating in our schools, this pizza thing. If anybody with a computer right-clicks on the image, does a Google image search of that image, as I did earlier this evening, it took me less than 1 minute to find the source of that pizza thing. That pizza thing is from a study done at Cal Poly Humboldt. I've got it on my computer screen here, where it is a study on, let me just get the information correct. I don't want to misspeak. It's a study done through a program for sexual violence bystander intervention programs. That graphic that people keep referring to about this pizza thing is taken from that website. And it's under the section that they talk about consent and communication activities. So before we go running through the streets with pitchforks and torches, let's do the due diligence and find the sources that are generating this information. This information is not something that was brought up through a frontline teacher in our schools. It originated somewhere else through a national source, no doubt, that had an ulterior motive to cause dissension among the rank and file teachers, perhaps, maybe, but definitely the parents. So I want to be very clear about that. Consider your sources when you're talking about these policy changes. Consider your sources when you're thinking that maybe we should take action because this thing is very upsetting. And yes, if that thing was being taught at our schools, I would be just as upset as any responsible parent would be. But in the case of this issue, this is not something being taught in our schools, just like all the other things that are supposed to be all fired up about and is not occurring, okay? So to that point, no, I don't have any interest in bringing any of these policies that we've already approved in the subcommittee and approved in the first reading unanimously. I don't have no interest in doing any of that. I would like to see this motion pass, and I would appreciate that opportunity to vote on it. Thank you.
But since that pizza assignment and some assignments were mentioned, I do want to say that I, as the curriculum chair, met with Michelle Middleton to discuss the emails and concerns that we got and to get some clarity around where are they coming from and how is that being addressed at Enfield Public Schools. So Chris Drezek, if I say anything wrong or inappropriate, you can feel free to correct me. But what I learned in this conversation with Michelle is that assignment came from a health class. And I want to be clear that this classes come from state legislation and families have the choice whether they want their child to participate or not. So there is family choice in those courses. Every family beginning in 4th grade gets a permission slip home to them with the units and topics outlined along with Enfield Public staff contact information for their families if they have additional questions. This is guided by the Healthy and Balanced Living Curriculum Framework. So if folks are interested to know what those standards are and what we're learning at each grade band, that is where you can find that information. Health begins in 4th grade. However, it is not delivered in 4th grade. It's done as a take-home activity. So it officially begins 5th through 11th grade. Again, it's a parent permission. There are information sent as far as the units that are covered with an opportunity to discuss with staff. As far as the assignment that has been circulating, the second page was posted by mistake. It was not presented that way to students. It has been rectified and addressed. And the first page topic, consent, is something that is aligned to the Healthy and Balanced Living Curriculum Framework for that grade band. So I just wanted to clarify that. And that's the end of my committee report.
And that's regard to an assignment that I know a lot of you have gotten questions about. To be honest, I've gotten a few, not as many as I think you guys have, in regards to a pizza assignment that was sent out inadvertently to an 8th grade class, or 8th grade students, I should say. The people who have reached out to me, the parents who have children in those classes, I've reached out to staff. I've reached out either to my office, to our curriculum office, or to the staff member themselves who sent it out. They may know this. Other people may not. You as board members should know I did send you an update on it. I just need to be very clear about what happened here. And the simple truth was it was a mistake. And I know that there are some who may not believe that. I know there are some who don't necessarily maybe want that answer. I'm not in the position to try to change narratives on what actually took place. And I say that because normally I would take responsibility, and I still do, when one of our staff members make an inadvertent mistake. In this particular case, I didn't even get a chance to, because the person who made the mistake jumped ahead of it before I was even notified that it had happened. And I say that because that says everything you need to know about the character of this person better than I can say something out loud. So I felt an obligation to bring this up, not to draw attention to this person any more than it's already been drawn onto them, but to set the record straight that this was simply an error. And I don't know about you, the 9 of you, or anyone in the room, or anyone watching at home. If anybody can look in the mirror and say they've never made an honest mistake, you're probably fooling yourself. So one of the things that compelled me to speak up this evening, because I felt I had an obligation, that this is a longtime great staff member. And I know there has been some suggestions. Now, again, I'm not on social media. You all know that. I don't read it. Doesn't stop people from sending it to me. Please don't, but you do anyway. I get it. And there have been some suggestions about how I should handle a mistake that a staff member made. Now, again, if this was a malicious mistake, or if the argument was, well, I really believed I should have sent this out, and let me just say, come out and say it. You know, the inadvertently information that was sent to children was inappropriate. I agree with it. I'm sure all of you agree with it. And you know who else agrees that it was inappropriate? The person who made the mistake. And you don't need to take my word for that. I have seen the responses to parents that said, and quote, I own this. So there are some that are suggesting ways that I should handle this when it comes to dealing with a staff member. And I would ask you this. Any sort of repercussions for a staff member that say I was interested in doing it, would it be worse than spending the past 2 weeks being ridiculed online, being called things such as a pedophile, or making threats and harm to the physical threats toward this person? There's nothing I can do to somebody that's worse. So I'm speaking up tonight for 2 reasons. One, to just tell people what happened if you didn't know, and also to apologize to that person. And I don't want to draw any more undue attention to this person because, quite frankly, they've been through enough. And I would hope that in some time, if I were ever in that same position, someone would do the same for me, as I know the 9 of you would expect somebody to do for you. I can't control what people want to talk about. I would never try to control what people want to talk about. That's not my job. People have the right to come in here and say whatever they want at that microphone for 3 minutes. I've never argued that. I don't intend on arguing that. But I do control what I talk about. And I have an obligation to stand up for this person who has meant a lot to so many kids in this district for a very long time, for a mistake that they are, quite frankly, embarrassed about and devastated that it happened on their watch. So I owe that to that person. But I also owe to that person that the answer is not going to change. There was no hidden agenda. There was no secret cabal to indoctrinate kids on something. They sent the wrong document. And because of that, that's not going to change. And I'm not going to perpetuate this story any longer on their behalf. So that's what happened. None of us are happy that it happened. No one feels worse that it happened than the person that did it. But I owe it to that person to stand up here and tell them, I got your back on this one. And going forward, I'm not doing it for an applause. But I'm, out of respect for that person, my answer is not going to change. The circumstances, the motive is not going to change. I just told you what it is. I'm moving on for them and for the 5,000 kids that we actually have to worry about. That said, feel free to discuss it at your will, but my answer is not going to change.
Secondly, pizza assignment. Big mistake, okay? Everybody can recognize that, okay? What's even a bigger mistake is going online, okay, and bashing our teachers, all right? It's inappropriate and it's uncalled for. I think, as the superintendent stated in his report, the individual who was responsible is apologized countless times, right? And I know the assignment can't be taken back, but the mistake was recognized. That's a starting point, all right? Okay? I'm not on the forum. I don't want to be on the forum, but a lot of our community members are. And when I heard, and actually I'm on Facebook, so I know, like, it kind of creeps out. You're not really a member of the forum, but you know what goes on in the forum, even if you're not on the forum, right? Because it kind of creeps out through your friends and whatnot. I was really disappointed in some of those comments from our community members. Really disappointed. That's not the town I know. When I see hundreds of comments bashing our teachers, not cool. Not cool whatsoever, okay? All right? I know that we all have our opinions on stuff, but Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, I don't care what it is, it's not the place to go there and take misconstrued information and put your own personal opinion on it. Because here's what happens. Out of those hundreds of comments that were generated, right, on a post or a topic, right, everybody starts commenting their opinion on it, right? And then I comment. Next person reads it. They read my comment. Now, what do they know about the assignment? They know what my comment was. What's my comment? My comment's not the assignment. My comment's my personal opinion on the assignment. I take that information, and now I'm basing my opinion off that opinion. And it's opinion after opinion after opinion after opinion, and it all gets lost. And that's the problem, right? And for it to get to the point where opinions turned into opinions to the point where we're calling our teachers, I'm not going to repeat what the superintendent said, but words such as what a staff member was called, it's disgusting. Because that wasn't the intent, and I promise you, nobody in our school system is the word he used. So I was really disappointed in that, and I hope that that can be taken back, and we can have our opinions, have our debates on the forum. I still won't know what they are. I'm not going to go on there, but understand words can hurt. All right. So I want to clarify that.
I do want to address Mr. Unghire's task force, just because I think I might have been the board member he was referencing as far as being open to having a parent advisory committee of some sort. And I do want to say I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually did reach out to you after you had mentioned this task force on the 12th, and I was hoping to be able to have some conversation with you. However, I didn't get a response. So it's a bit concerning to me that there seems to be folks who know more about this task force design and presentation that was happening than a board member sitting who actually reached out wanting to know more. So to me, this demonstrates more of a political move than actually trying to help out our schools. So I do have a couple questions. How have we responded to mistakes or issues that have happened in the past? Is this a typical response? We have had many families, staff, and residents come here and raise concerns, yet we haven't formed a task force to address any of those. So how do we make decisions about committees and task force that we form? I also need to better understand the purpose. I'm really unsure what you're trying to find out. I believe we know what happened and that it hasn't been a secret. We know that the root cause of the assignment is actually a health sex ed assignment that's linked to the 8th grade health standards and framework, actually the ones that Ms. Cushman just referenced. So we know that it's about health education. We know that that is an opt-in class that families do not have to have their students participate in. Chris has shared that it was a mistake. So a staff mistake is a personnel issue, which is actually not a function of the board and is actually in conflict of our duties. So I know it said we don't want to place blame, but if we don't, I don't know what we're trying to find out then. So I'm going to respond directly to you, Mr. Unghire. Ms. Gilly asked a question about this, and Ms. Jarvis, you mentioned it in your comments as well. I do believe that we had publicly addressed the pizza assignment. I think Chris addressed it. I think we have spoken about it. You can go back to meetings and watch over and over and over again. So what I'd want to just share, Sex ed is an opt-out. Parents get forms. Actually, I think somebody in our community posted one of those emails that goes out to families. It is clear the topics that are addressed, how to reach out to the teacher to get out of the class if you're not comfortable, how to speak to a teacher if you'd like more information about the lessons being provided. So I encourage parents, if you're concerned, reach out to your teachers. They're more than happy to share what they're teaching in class and answer any questions you might have. The other piece is the State Department of Ed has grade level standards for this. It's called the Healthy and Balanced Living Framework. I've seen this being stretched and misused as well. These are standards. They don't provide curriculum and they don't provide lessons. It is based on grade bands and concepts that should be covered in each grade band. Based off of that, Enfield Public Schools selects curriculum and lessons on how to meet those standards. So lessons that are delivered in class are aligned to those standards. The mistake that happened was a mistake, and that's how it's been addressed. And so that is what I have to say about that.